Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep this match reaction quite short and sweet because, well, it's 10 o'clock and I'm knackered. I've had 3 mock exams today. But what an absolutely embarrassing performance. That was worse than anything else that has happened this season, worse than any performance under McCann that we've berated and slated and all of that. The problems were easy to see. We bring Smallwood in. Well, we take Smallwood out, we've got no midfield. That was evidenced at Stoke, at home against Stoke the other week under McCann, where we've been crying out for Huddleston to start for weeks, but without Smallwood we fall apart in the midfield. Or someone like Smallwood, like Slater, who did the same role really, really well last season when Smallwood was injured at the back end. Take out Longman, we've got no creativity down the right-hand side. You play Honeyman wider instead of more central. We've got nothing going forward. You bring in the abject performances, the anonymous performances of Doherty and Walsh in the midfield. That tells you all you need to know. Got to about the 70th minute and I forgot Marcus Force was still on the pitch until he just forgot how feet work at a corner. Syed Manesh came on and looked great, not even playing in his natural position, having to come in from deep. But I'd say pretty much every single one of those players was awful. Ingram couldn't do anything about the goals, but even McLaughlin looked naff, and he's been consistent when he's played. I mean, Fleming and Greaves were getting ripped to bits down our left-hand side. Jones and Coyle were getting ripped to bits down the right, but Ebosele had Brandon Fleming on toast down the left. The goals were so preventable. Paul marking for the first one. Coyle had left the floor. I get Forsyth, taller, but Coyle had left the floor. The second one is just embarrassing. And then the third one he just ran straight through us. It's awful. Absolutely awful. Then the fact there were no changes at half-time before the third goal. I saw Bentos on Twitter, if you know Bentos, he questioned whether Avaladze had even managed before. Now, before you say, are you Avaladze in or out, I'm not going to make that judgment for another sort of 5 or 6 games when he's had about 10 games in the job. I said I'd give McCann 15 games at the start of the season before I made a judgment. I think he ended up giving him 12. And I said, and I'll give Shota around 10. 8, 9, 10. Something around that. But for Derby, they were good. Ebosele was brilliant. Tom Lawrence was effective. Plange caused us issues up top. Curtis Davis was brilliant. Curtis Davis was absolutely brilliant for Derby. Derby's defence just found a way to isolate King Lewis Potter. We couldn't get him close enough to Marcus Force. Like with Eves on Saturday, the long balls we were trying for Force, whether they were on the floor or in the air, just weren't working because trying to flick them on and bring them down, he had nobody to give the ball to. Our midfield, as soon as they won the ball back in the box, or just anywhere on the pitch, would give it away. Playing Honeyman wide didn't work. He went for a 3-4-3 tonight. It didn't work. It did not work. And Walsh, showed flashes, but I don't think he was great. Doherty did nothing until the 78th minute. Syed Manesh came on, looked all right. Lewis Potter, as I say, got isolated too far. Wasn't close enough. It takes 2 defenders with Lewis Potter that wide to just eliminate him out the game. And then, as I say, Force. I forgot he was on the pitch at one point. Coyle. It was a bizarre selection picking Coyle. But I think it's safe to say that one didn't pay off. Eves, when he came on, again, it was the same old stuff, just trying to lump it long to him, and it wasn't working. I'll give Eves credit, though. I mean, I really like Tom Eves, but I'll give him credit where credit's due. His touch, his first touch, bringing the ball down, has really improved over the last few games. But yeah, we were just awful. We were simply awful. There's no other way to put it. I think we had 3 chances. That was, no, 4. We had Lewis Potter's shot in about the 3rd minute that was well saved. It was a brilliant chip ball by Honeyman. We had Coyle's header just before half-time, which went onto the roof of the bar. We obviously had the goal, which was an own goal. Great bit of play by Fleming. And then it just went in off Forsyth. So we got very lucky there. And we had the one in added time when McLaughlin faked, dipped inside and just couldn't turn it in at the near post. Yeah. Derby could have had it a lot more, though. Derby should have been 4 or 5-0. Maybe even push it up to 6. Now, that was embarrassing. And I think Shota Arveladze, for some fans, has still got a lot to prove. He's still got stuff to prove for everyone, don't get me wrong, but there's some who he has to prove more to prove that sacking Grant was the right decision. And if it doesn't work out, will Arjun offload him straight away? I mean, he doesn't seem like the type to stick with a dud, but they've become mates, haven't they? So, who knows? Who knows? I wonder what Grant's doing at the minute. Grant and Cliff are probably just sat with their families thinking, interesting. Because there's a lot of fans defending McCann tonight. Saying, I'll bring him back, whether it be jokey or not. But for me, you give Shota a chance. People calling for his head already, he's stupid. He's had 3 games. Although I do think that honeymoon period is over now for both the owner and the new manager. So I think we should judge both more harshly. And if it turns out sacking McCann was the wrong decision, then, well, Adjun will be scrutinised, I'm sure. But we'll leave it there. To summarise, dismal performance, absolutely naff. So we've got a nice easy one against Fulham coming up against the only 30-goal Alexander Mitrovic. I mean, imagine having only 30 goals after 31 games in the, less than 31 games in the Championship, you know. Average team, average. No, we're going to get absolutely battered. Right, I'll see you later, everyone. Have a good night. Goodbye.